Impeachment is over. Done.
No, just for this week.
I want to know who won. Who won? We got the State of the Union coming up from Socialistic. That's right. And David Bahnsen on Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, the Democratic Party. Hey, y'all, welcome to Cross Politics. Thank you for joining us. We're tearing up our own speeches here.
What is this? What is this?
Pastor Toby, Chuck Knox, on the Water Boy. Thank you for joining us on the Fight Laugh Feast Network. Hey, you guys, club members, make sure you guys download the app because you can actually be watching us live right now in the app if you have a club membership. I'm just going on. You see, I don't get distracted anymore. Download the app. You can actually, in your app, iTunes Store or Google Play, type in Fight Laugh Feast or Fight Laugh Feast Network. You can download our app. The app is fantastic. I'm really enjoying it. We got more content coming in the app, so make sure you join our club membership. You need some of these? You can actually log in through the app and be watching this live. Watching this circus live right now. I'm trying to do this live.
We're doing a Pelosi right now. There you go, Pastor. Go ahead, do it.
That feels good.
Yeah, it does.
Lastly,
good.
Yeah.
Hey, join our email list also because we are going to be announcing registration to our Fight Laugh Feast conference in Nashville, October 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. We got Pastor Wilson coming. We got George Grant coming.
Whoa.
We got Rod Martin coming.
What?
We got Toby Sumter coming. And then I got a couple secret surprises that we're bringing.
That's what I'm talking about.
Did you mention the app?
I did.
Yeah, we were in the business of doing this.
Toby got excited.
Hey, this show is brought to you by Story Family Medicine. It's a medical clinic here in Moscow, Idaho. You might recognize Dr. Rod Story from past episodes of Cross Politics. If you don't know who Rod Story is, search Rod Story. Can they search Rod Story on crosspolitic.com?
Yeah.
And they would find the show that we did with him where he talked about the current transgendering crisis. What in the world is this? In 2018, Dr. Story opened his own direct primary care clinic. Direct primary care is a membership model where members pay a single monthly fee, get this, for continuous and personal care.
Yeah.
So my wife can take a picture anytime, day or night, or of like, a bug bite.
Like a rash on you or something.
Or a cut or an infection or describe symptoms.
Yeah. Why my eye red?
And did you say I had a rash?
You totally missed it. Like your rash.
I was pulling a Pelosi.
That's it. That's it.
Oh, man.
But he will respond. He'll reply day or night.
Yeah.
Just like that, because we pay the monthly fee. Anyway, Story Family Medicine, because great care takes time. You can find out more information at storyfamilymed.com or by calling their office at 208-310-7773.
Okay, I got to say something real quick about Dr. Story. He's amazing.
Yeah.
He is, the care. So we were doing some filming in there, and I'm in the other room, got my camera, and I'm coming in, I'm doing a shot, and I'm waiting for them to come out the room. And all of a sudden, I hear, Lord, I just want you to take care of this child right now. I'm a Christian, and I got, whoa, is he in there praying? He is.
He's anointing oil.
Boy, that child came out of there.
Here's your antibiotic, and Lord bless you.
That's exactly what, and that child starts speaking in tongues, and I ain't never seen them like that before.
I don't think the child was really speaking in tongues.
But it was amazing. I love
that. Was
Dr.
probably
Story.
Latin because the kid goes to Logos school.
Yeah, so
great.
It's great. It was great being in a hospital or doctor's office like that.
Okay.
I am proud to announce tonight that you will be receiving our country's highest civilian honor, the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah.
He's getting it.
Wow.
I didn't recognize him at first.
Yeah. He's aged.
Yeah.
Wowee.
Look, happening right on the floor.
In front of everybody.
Wow. The whole speech was amazing.
Well, it's just full of political theater.
Yeah, it really was.
And I appreciate some of it. Some of it's maybe a little overdone.
Well, but he
after this last year.
Reaction to Rush Limbaugh receiving the Presidential Medal of Freedom. First of all, the Presidential Medal of Freedom is an extraordinarily sacred award. We're talking about putting someone on the same level as Rosa Parks, for example, in terms of their contributions to American progress. Rush Limbaugh is a virulent racist. But
virulent.
Even just on top of that, to do it in the middle of a State of the Union,
is she from Texas?
And not even dignify it with its own ceremony as it has. There's all sorts of norms that are being violated, not just for people's humanity, but also it truly just cheapens the value of it.
So that's AOC.
Yeah, AOC. Homosexuality used to not be a norm.
That's pretty virulent.
Yeah.
Maybe she doesn't know that the producer for Rush Limbaugh is a black guy.
Oh,
right.
And he came out and said,
Does he know that Rush is racist?
Well, that's what he was coming out and saying. It's like, look, I challenge you, find it.
Yeah.
Tell me where it is.
Right.
And I even went to Snopes to look at some of the things that they said. That Snopes? Yeah, them too.
Yeah. You went to your boy Snoop?
Snoop Dogg was telling me that the way it went, that Rush didn't actually say.
Did you see Cosby and Snoop Dogg tweeting yesterday?
Cosby?
Yeah, Cosby.
Is he in jail right now? Yes. Anyway, so I went to Snopes, and they said that some of the things that have been said about Rush actually are not true.
Yeah.
And some of the things that he said.
Even Snoop Dogg knows.
Yeah, Snoop Dogg knows that, and if you go to Snoop's, anyway. But what was amazing is that, Rush has said some pretty crass things.
Yeah.
Right? He's crass.
He is crass. And
he can be.
Yeah, at the same
he's
time.
He's definitely kind of toned down that crassness over the years, but
but
take the paper away from him.
What he's done, the reason we're here right now, and
Yeah.
the reason talk and podcasting is doing so good around the nation.
That's right.
Has everything to do, with Rush. I mean, it really does. And he was the guy who brought it and put it on the map.
Yeah, I appreciated him giving the award to Rush for that principle.
Although I think there's other people to give the award to.
Sort of the symbolism of it. I think he's
free speech.
He's applauding conservative free speech.
Yeah.
The whole movement that Rush pioneered.
That's exactly what it's
and
about.
I appreciate that.
And one of the things, if you want to push,
good.
though, in free speech is David Dowden. That's who I would have awarded.
He needs
But
it.
Amy, there is one more thing. Tonight we have a very special surprise. I am thrilled to inform you that your husband is back from deployment. He is here with us tonight, and we couldn't keep him waiting any longer.
Wow.
That's still. I mean, it gives you shivers.
It does. I've seen this video 4 times.
I know.
And every time I get.
Yeah. You know why? This is. We love watching videos of soldiers coming home because it's a picture of heaven.
Sacrifice.
That's right.
No, it's a picture of heaven.
That's right.
It's heaven. It's like that's homecoming.
Yeah.
It is.
I mean, that's what heaven is going home.
Right.
Being gathered to your people.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel bad for her. Like, did she know this was coming at all?
No,
I don't think so.
I mean,
look at the kid. Oh, that's beautiful.
I mean, it is a little hard to do that in front of everybody.
Yeah.
But there's something really beautiful about it.
This is winning. I mean, when you say theater, man, he put on a show. It was entertaining.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think he was saying, which was both good and bad for me, was that your government is working for you. And not only is it working for you, but it's working for you well, and it's working for you right now.
Yeah.
So he did things with Rush Limbaugh. Rush, we're going to award you this, and we're going to do it now.
Right.
Hey, you know what? We know it's tough on military families and what you guys go through, but we're going to bring the award in.
We brought your soldier home right now.
Yeah, right.
Tuskegee Airmen, you've given your life. 100-year-old man who's been fighting 100 and some odd missions. Wasn't that coming up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little baby.
Yeah.
In 2017, doctors at St. Luke's Hospital in Kansas City delivered one of the earliest premature babies ever to survive. Born at just 21 weeks and 6 days.
Wow.
And weighing less than a pound.
Wow.
Ellie Schneider was a born fighter.
Wow.
Through the skill of her doctors and the prayers of her parents, little Ellie kept on winning the battle of life. Today, Ellie is a strong, healthy 2-year-old girl sitting with her amazing mother, Robin. In the gallery, Ellie and Robin, we are glad to have you with us tonight.
And this is the moment where he was going after abortion.
Yeah.
And this is it was a brilliant. It's just brilliant.
Yeah.
But 21 weeks.
Yeah.
And down the street you can still kill this baby
In Virginia.
in most states.
governor will-
Most states in the union.
Yeah.
You can
The
still
governor will lay that baby on the side and make a decision with the doctor.
what to do about it.
Blackface.
Yeah, blackface,
Yeah,
Northam. Yeah, but anyways, and then in that part in the speech where he actually he affirmed every baby is a miracle from God, made in the image of God, and called to at least ban late term abortions.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Babies like that.
Charles McGee was born in Cleveland, Ohio, 1 century ago. Charles is one of the last surviving Tuskegee Airmen, the first black fighter pilots, and he also happens to be Ian's great-grandfather. After more than 130 combat missions in World War II,
that's incredible.
He came back home to a country still struggling for civil rights and went on to serve America in Korea and Vietnam. On December 7th, Charles celebrated his 100th birthday. A few weeks ago, I signed a bill promoting Charles McGee to Brigadier General, and earlier today, I pinned the stars on his shoulders in the Oval Office. General McGee, our nation salutes you. Thank you, sir.
That's cool. Our nation don't raise men
what
like that anymore.
Racist.
Our nation don't raise men like that anymore.
Well, it's
130.
I love honoring fathers.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I appreciated about that is, I mean, this is there's a, his grandson, great-grandson?
Great-grandson.
Right there. But, just, he's a father. Right. He's a father in our nation.
And here, on this land, on this soil, on this continent, the most incredible dreams come true. This nation is our canvas.
Oh, get ready.
And this country is our masterpiece. We look at tomorrow and see unlimited frontiers just waiting to be explored. Our brightest discoveries are not yet known. Our most thrilling stories are not yet told. Our grandest journeys are not yet made. The American age, the American epic, the American adventure has only just begun. Our spirit is still young. The sun is still rising. God's grace is still shining. And my fellow Americans, the best is yet to come. Thank you. God bless you. And God bless America. Thank you very much.
Oh! No, wait. What happened to the clip? Well, we know what happened.
And here, on this land,
This
on this
This is what Nancy was doing. We ruined it. The clip.
Everybody.
No. We've been doing it all day.
We've been doing it all the whole show. So everybody knows.
So here's Nancy explaining why she did that.
Yeah,
why she did that. Let's let her speak, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
You often counsel your members to be dignified in their response to the president, take the high ground. Did you step on that message by tearing up the State of the Union?
I tore up a manifesto of mistruths.
A manifesto.
It's very hard for us to get you to
guy?
talk about the issues that we are working on, HR 3, infrastructure, and the rest. He misrepresented all of that. It was necessary to get the attention of the American people to say this is not true, and this is how it affects you. And I don't need any lessons from anybody, especially the President of the United States, about dignity.
Oh, man.
Dignity. Is it okay to start saying 4 more years in the House of Representatives? It's just unheard of. Is it unheard of for the president to insult people there who don't share his view, as well as to misrepresent, present falsehoods? Some would use the word lie. I don't like to use the word lie about what he is saying.
All right, I'm done.
So, no, I think it was
that's
complete.
Stop.
The Democrats want to keep defining the terminology. They say what's dignified.
Yeah.
And she can tear up
whatever
his
we
paper.
do is dignified.
Right. And we have the high moral ground to respond to Trump and tear up documents, and he can't.
Notice the rhetoric difference.
Yeah.
Trump speaks like your favorite football coach.
Mm-hmm.
That. He's like, I mean, he did this particularly in the day in his acquittal speech following, but even the State of the Union address.
Yeah.
Granted, it's political theater.
Sure. It's WWE.
It is, but he's encouraging, and he has I think the closest thing to the voice of a father that a lot of people will hear, where he's saying, you're doing good. We can do better.
Yeah.
We're going to do better. We're going to keep working hard. We're going to keep fighting.
Obama was good at that too.
Yeah.
He really was.
And he highlights people. When you did that, that was awesome. We're thinking of you. He's pointing people out in the team.
Yeah.
And she gets up here and makes this statement.
Yeah.
It's just like scratching your fingernails across a chalkboard.
Yeah. She points at the reporter like, don't teach me.
It's a condescending, screeching. Like, really?
Well, and
is that what you want?
I think the evidence of that is I think Christine Pelosi, her daughter, got on Fox and said when she saw this was the move of a Italian grandmother. And so when you go to that, it was like, oh. So what she does is she goes and hides this behind, a grandma and race and say this is justified.
But it didn't have, but see, the thing is, I don't know exactly all that's meant by an Italian grandma.
Well, that's what's designed for, so that you don't.
Yeah, but it's like, when, there is a place for mom to lecture.
Yeah.
And grandma to, look you in the face and say, hey, you look at me, boy.
But what didn't he say that he didn't say last year? Outside of the theater that he put on, everything that Trump has said, the way he talks, the way he communicates about his opponents, he talks the same way, has been talking the same way forever. So outside, I get it.
I think this was a little bit better delivered.
Well, this was a championship run, right? This was a little different because he had the momentum. Yeah. The feels were all there.
Right.
And she did a perfect move. If you're losing, you rip it up.
Right.
Because she upstaged it. And that's the only thing you could do at this point.
Yeah. But she looks petty. She looks cranky. She looks fussy. But
she's getting a lot of attention, and it's almost sidelining kind of what happened at the State of the Union. It's a good move.
There's this one guy on Twitter who went and actually found the ripped up speech in the trash can, and he taped it back together and apparently turned it into the National Archives.
Okay,
that's awesome.
That's how you win.
That's awesome. Well, needless to say, this whole week for Trump has been one victory after another.
His
State of the Union was a victory.
State of the Union,
Yeah,
the Iowa
debacle.
Yeah, Trump won that.
He's the first Republican president to ever win a Democratic caucus. and then after the prayer breakfast, so then he had the prayer breakfast after the State of the Union, and then after prayer breakfast, he has this.
He walks in like this.
The acquittal speech.
This victory speech.
Victory lap.
Pelosi's gonna need a lot more paper. She's gonna need a lot more paper. Oh man.
Well, thank you very much.
Oh my goodness. It was a victory lap. It was a victory lap.
Yeah.
This was the beginning.
Oh, this is amazing.
This is like the post game. We won. You all are awesome.
Yeah.
He gets up and talks for an hour and 3 minutes after this?
Yeah, it was an hour.
An hour and 3
minutes. Bill Clinton, when he was acquitted by the Senate, remember, he was impeached by the House, acquitted by the Senate. Bill Clinton spoke
did not have sexual relations with that woman.
I love you, Bill Clinton.
Yeah,
man.
He spoke for 1 minute and 37 seconds.
Turn the cameras off.
Yeah. Trump gets up there and he speaks for over an hour.
An hour, yep.
Recognizing people, standing up. All this stuff.
I keep asking myself, did anybody on the other side think, hey, what happens, guys, if we lose?
Right.
What's that calculation look like?
Has anybody calculated what it's going to look like?
Trump is just going to put his tail between his legs and walk away, right?
That's what's going to go down, right?
No, he's going to go into that end zone, and he's going to be dancing in front of the cameras for an hour.
He's going to grab the offensive line. He's going to grab the coaches. He's going to grab the fans.
Everything.
In the end zone. All right, when we come back, David Bahnsen on his new book about Elizabeth Warren. We're going to talk to him. Why wasn't Bernie Sanders or anybody
And we're going to do a book drawing.
Oh, coming up.
Third segment?
Yes.
Book drawing for members. Get ready.
Yeah, but next, David Bahnsen.
Americans have been traveling down the health insurance highway for decades. But lately, it's been taking us to places we don't want to go. For Christians, it's hard to know which road to take. Or is it? Samaritan Ministries provides a different direction, a biblical path for their members to pray for each other and share financially in each other's medical needs.
This idea that Samaritan has adopted from the book of Acts should permeate all parts of our lives, not just health sharing. We, as a body of believers, are living out New Testament Christianity. This is what God intended for the church.
Do you believe that you need an insurance company, or do you believe that God will provide your needs? And there are people that you've never met before who are going to pray for you and meet your needs. There's another way.
Looking for a new direction for your healthcare? Visit us online at SamaritanMinistries.org.
Welcome back to Cross Politic on the Fight Laugh Feast Network. I'm excited about this segment.
Bro, number 3.
What's number 3?
Number 3, third time.
Is it number 3?
I don't know if this is a strikeout or what.
Is this our first guest to have on 3 times?
I was going to ask.
No, Doug Wilson's probably been that one.
Okay.
But does he count?
He's joining the ranks. He's joining the ranks.
Technically, no.
David Bahnsen, you're right in there with Doug Wilson. How's that make you feel?
Is that right? I've been on 3 times, and that's like a record.
For you,
I think so.
It's true. I don't usually get invited back anywhere, even 2 times.
Wow,
oh man!
It just shows you how desperate we are.
We are grateful to have Mr. David Bahnsen. He's the founder, managing partner, and chief investment officer of the Bahnsen Group. This is a bi-coastal wealth management firm managing over $2 billion in client capital. Careful.
Did you say $2 billion?
Breathe, man. Breathe, brother.
Hallelujah.
He is annually recognized as one of the top advisors in the country by Barron's, Forbes, Financial Times. He's a frequent economic and political writer for National Review, Forbes, and his very own Dividend Cafe. He's the host of the weekly political podcast Radio Free California.
Yeah.
And is a regular guest on Fox Business, CNBC, Bloomberg, and Cross Politic.
And he's part of the 1%.
I appreciate. You know what? I appreciate you, David. Thank you so much for what you do up there.
And also the author of
I think he's coughing. I think he's coughing because he heard that $2 billion and he thought, man, this guy's going to have an arrest warrant for him with Bernie Sanders.
You're the first person he's thinking about.
Yeah.
Let me get you, David.
I'm getting that, David Bahnsen. He's also the author of the brand new book, Elizabeth Warren, How Her Presidency Would Destroy the Middle Class and the American Dream. David, thanks so much for joining us again.
Well, in all seriousness, thanks for having me. Love doing this with you guys. It's a lot of fun.
So why Elizabeth Warren? I mean, really, what makes her so dangerous?
Well, I think that there's two components to it. First is the one where I'll be self-deprecating and yet somewhat transparent, and that is that apparently political prognostication is more difficult than it looks, certainly more difficult than forecasting macroeconomics and cash flows of American businesses. Because in October, when my publisher pitched me on writing this book, she was in first place and climbing. And then Bernie Sanders had this thing called a heart attack. And you know,
absolutely.
I thought he was done.
I know now it's like, I mean, who didn't, right?
You know,
that could have been a couple of different things. You know?
That's true.
So, like, a heart attack is generally serious. That's where this expression "serious as a heart attack" comes from,
right?
Because it's really serious,
Absolutely.
and it didn't even affect his campaign, and so then Elizabeth Warren made one self-induced error after another. And of course, I would like to think that just the mere announcement of my book coming out also damaged the prospect.
That's good.
That's great.
But much like my forecast of Trump having no chance in 2016, my concerns that Warren would end up being a Democratic frontrunner have at least so far looked to be overstated, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
The problem, though, and I've had interview after interview say, doesn't it look like the American people are rejecting Elizabeth Warren's message? Well, of course, the problem is that it doesn't, because Elizabeth Warren's loss has been Bernie Sanders' gain. And so I think from an ideological standpoint in the Democratic Party, particularly in those fringes that have a lot of the energy and momentum, her message, her platform has an awful lot of momentum right now.
Well, when I read your book, I really kind of read it more like watching the whole Democratic Party kind of progress this direction. Not just Elizabeth Warren, not just Bernie Sanders, but there really is a connection between the Obama administration and where Sanders and Warren want to take the Democratic Party.
Well, I agree. I think that the difference is, and again, I hope that listeners will really take this in the right way and with the nuance it's intended. But Barack Obama is significantly smarter and more talented than the bulk of progressive liberals.
Wow.
Yeah.
And this has been a 100-year success story for the left.
Mm-hmm.
It's a story that I have spent significant portion of my adult life pleading with the right to understand, particularly those of us who have a faith worldview, that incrementalism is a really potent, really effective means of implementing change. It also happens to be the way that change most often is in fact enacted.
Yeah.
But Obama realized that he could, by trying to move the ball 10 yards at a time, he could get a lot more done than throwing a Hail Mary. And it looks to me like Sanders is going to just jump right out on a Medicare for All, Green New Deal, the same things I wrote about in the Warren book, whereas they probably will get there anyways if they would just settle for 3 or 4 yards at a time.
Inside of your book, the subtitle is How Her Policies Would Destroy the Middle Class. Oh, is that kind of just fear-mongering, or do you really, how would her policies destroy the middle class?
No, it's not fear-mongering, and I mean it very seriously, and yet I mean it in a very different way than most people. I think the most typical right-wing, conservative, Republican response is to immediately go to the price tag of the proposals. And by the way, I do that too. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. They are ludicrous. They are fantasy land and utopian. They can't be paid for. They won't be paid for. That's all legitimate, fair game. But that's not what I mean. I mean it destroys the middle class. And this is where we get to what we all discussed the first time you guys had me on, my initial book, Crisis of Responsibility.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
I believe it undermines the middle class because Warren is successfully persuading people that their lot in life is doomed. And the reason it is doomed is because they are oppressed, and the person oppressing them is someone else who has been successful, someone else who has money, who owns a business. It could be a millionaire. It could be a business owner. It could be an executive, a bank. There's all these different boogeymen out there. But what it is doing is undermining the middle class of agency, of responsibility. And that is what I mean by destroying the middle class.
Right. Can you connect the dots between some of the specific policies? I mean, you kind of walk through a number of her policies, and you're connecting the dots. You're demonstrating how each one of these does the very thing you talk about, blames other people for the problems and removes agency and responsibility. Could you just connect the dots for our listeners? Like, take one or two of her policy proposals and say, here's how it does that.
Well, I think that one of the lowest hanging fruits, largely because of the gift of YouTube and this particular gentleman who confronted Senator Warren at a campaign rally, is on the issue of student debt forgiveness. Okay. So I wrote a whole chapter about the subject in my Crisis of Responsibility book, and I have very strong opinions about the entire system to begin with, and kind of just the absurdity and scam that is the present higher education industry at large. Yeah. And then you get into the funding mechanisms and so forth. So the issue that is really interesting is how incredibly regressive her policy proposal is. She's talking about $1 trillion handout to effectively doctors and lawyers that have grad school debt. Now, there's a lot of undergrad students that have excessive debt that would benefit from some student loan forgiveness, but the statistics are pretty clear. Most of the student debt issues we have are with people that have high earning potential, that are in the larger side of income generating capacity. Right. The bottom 30 or 40% of earning capacity are people who don't have college degrees, therefore don't have student debt. Maybe they had parents to take care of. Maybe they went and worked for the family, business. But, of course, there's no $1 trillion being given to them. Well, isn't that the textbook definition of regressive? Mm-hmm. Giving more to people that need it less while not giving anything to people who need it more? I've been spending my whole life hearing that that's what Republicans do. Right. And here's Warren handing out $1 trillion to doctors and lawyers. I think it's insane.
Yeah. Oops. but connect that. So, again.
But to answer your question on the middle class thing, what that dad got for, there are a lot of people, I bet a lot of them are listening to the show right now who saved up for their kids' education, who made efforts to kind of, spend a little less, put money aside, and kind of think through what they wanted to do. And so if they wrote a check to pay for a tuition semester from savings, they're not going to get any benefit here. But to the extent you didn't save, you took on debt, and then now they're going to come in and wipe that debt away. It's an utterly dangerous moral hazard. And the idea, and you guys can timestamp this sentence, the idea that they will forgive $1 trillion of student debt and in 5 years or 10 years not forgive $1 trillion of credit card debt is comical.
That's right.
It will happen.
Right.
It will incentivize utterly insane spending. It's a bad idea for the middle class.
Slippery slope. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, kind of take a shot at the Republicans. I feel like the Republicans have kind of got us to this point too. The Republicans don't care about the national debt. The Republicans talk about limited government, or used to.
Right.
I don't really hear much talk of it anymore. But we're not that far behind.
I was thinking
the Democrats.
I was thinking that particularly with the Trump's State of the Union address. There were a number of things that I appreciated about it, and it was a phenomenal speech. Yeah. But at the same time, there were a number of places where he's promising all kinds of things, and in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, how are you going to pay for that, man?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, to the extent that the book I wrote is very carefully not driven by only going after the price tag of Warren's issues, but all of the moral and political shortcomings in them. A big portion of the reason for that is that I argue the Republicans don't have the credibility to go after the price tag. It's a really bad argument to say you're going to spend 10 trillion too much, and they say you spent 5 trillion too much, and you go,
that's right.
Like at some point, it all gets lost on the American people. We're well past that point.
Yeah.
You said something interesting though. It is that it was in Trump's State of the Union. It was a very good speech, and I believe that it showed something that is not merely transitory and not merely in the conventional argument people use for supporting President Trump. He fights and we got to, the libs are coming after us.
Sure.
The media is unfair. All those things, I get it. And
Sure.
I've heard there's not an argument out there I haven't heard and had tweeted at me usually with really weird memes. But the fact of the matter is that no one can say with a straight face that we are any more interested in fiscal responsibility.
Right.
And no one is really pretending that we are.
Right.
That's right.
And so that it puts it at an even higher level of burden that our ability to argue against Medicare for All, Green New Deal, and student loan forgiveness be based in something greater than just merely the price tag, because the Republicans do not have a leg to stand on here.
Yeah.
Are you planning on voting for Trump this next go around? We didn't vote for Trump, and I at least at this point I think I'm going to be voting for Trump. How are you sorting through that?
Well, first of all, I didn't know you guys didn't vote for Trump, and that's amazing because he still won Idaho.
Yeah, we were surprised too.
Yeah, it was an easy. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to let you know a little secret. I didn't vote for Trump, and he still lost California.
Yeah, surprise. It's your fault, obviously.
So both of us, for different reasons, are in a position where voting or not voting for him is somewhat irrelevant.
That's true. Sure.
Because of the foregone conclusion of our respective states. So I wrote time and time again about this, no matter how much false stuff has been said to the contrary back in 2016, that the real issue is not how I was going to vote. I take my vote very seriously. I think it is something that is very covenantal to me. And yet I am really sensitive to the legitimate pragmatic arguments that exist. But in Ohio and Florida and Wisconsin and Michigan, if they called me up at midnight and said, we need you to come break the tie, I would have voted for Trump in 2016. And as for what I'm going to do in 2020, I'm going to wait and let the Democrats nominate their person, and I'm going to wait and see how President Trump behaves. But I have no burden on this subject, because the real question is who am I going to be rooting for, not who am I going to vote for. I'm going to vote for or against President Trump, depending on these other circumstances that are still TBD. But as far as who I'm rooting for, there is no possible way that I can root for a Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren to be president.
Right.
And so if that seems like I'm being evasive, I'm really not. I've thought through this immensely. I continue to. President Trump, in a weird way, okay, as someone who really did not want to see him be the Republican nominee in 2016, has basically done all the things that I thought he wouldn't do in a good way.
Right. Yep.
And then a bunch of things that I thought he wouldn't do, he's done in a bad way. And what I mean by that is he sort of accidentally been effective in the life issue and in the judge issue with judges.
Right. Yeah.
And because of the alignment of interest, he's really more or less governed as a pretty traditional conservative Republican president would, other than on the spending issue. There's not been much that I would say I really wish he would have done that differently or that differently on a policy issue. And yet, temperamentally, I would have thought, because of his craving for popularity, that he would have pivoted to being a bit less temperamentally jackassish, and he has not.
Yeah.
Hey, David, we're going to wrap up here, but I want to end with a little bit of an economics lesson. I've heard you say that Genesis 1 is the economics textbook to end all textbooks. And as an economics guy, when I open up economic books, I don't usually hear people talk like that. Could you just flesh that out for us real quick before we go?
Yes, I would agree with you that when you open up a lot of economics textbooks, you do not see them starting in Genesis 1.
Not really.
For some reason.
But I will tell you that the reason that those economics textbooks you are opening are usually so bad, it can largely be attributed to the fact that they don't start in Genesis 1. And I believe that even classical economics and a lot of the neoclassical school that would be considered less Keynesian and certainly less collectivist still is deeply flawed. I think in the 20th century of the Randian school, that it commits the same errors that a lot of more left-wing oriented economists would make, and that is not rooting their approach to the study of economics in a really accurate understanding of the human person.
Yeah.
And an understanding of the human person requires one to know that the human person was first and foremost created by God, and they were created by God in his image, and they were created by God in his image with dignity, and they were created with dignity for the purpose of man exercising dominion in the earth to grow and to make things bigger and better and more productive, and that this was all part of God's original pre-fall plan. And everything I just said is fundamentally important to understanding economics, and all of it is found in the first 28 verses of the Bible.
That's your next book, right?
Seriously.
I promise you it's coming, my friend.
Oh, man.
seriously.
I'm so looking forward to that.
I had to take down Elizabeth Warren first.
Okay.
She's out of the way.
Okay. We'll let you.
I'm totally with that. Elizabeth Warren, How Her Presidency Would Destroy the Middle Class and the American Dream.
And Sanders.
By David Bahnsen. Well, Sanders, he hit both with one,
Yeah.
All right. Hey, David, thank you so much for joining us, man. We appreciate you.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
And you too. More Cross Politic when we come back. You're heading to Amazon right now, right?
Go get it.
Woo. One thing again.
Amen.
Classical Conversation supports homeschooling parents by cultivating the love of learning through a Christian worldview in fellowship with other families. We provide a classical, Christ-centered curriculum, local, like-minded communities across the United States and in several countries, and we train parents who are striving to be great classical educators in the home. For more information and to get connected, please visit our website at classicalconversations.com. Classical, Christian, get connected, get community.
Whoa!
You said you like it loud.
Whoa! Blast!
The shock you in place here.
This is what I'm going to do to you. And that's better than the alternatives.
Welcome back.
Okay, that one got me.
Welcome back to Cross Politic on the one and the only Fight, Laugh, Feast
I never want to know what the alternative
network. This segment is brought to you by Moscow Family Dentistry. Moscow Family Dentistry is a clinic in Moscow, Idaho. You may be shocked to hear. But did you know that they were a big part of sending us to G3?
They were.
And our East Coast tour.
Yeah.
So grateful
So
for them.
every time you see more club content coming out or shows that were filmed on the road coming out, as they're going to be coming out, just think to yourself, God bless Moscow Family Dentistry.
Pray for them.
Yeah.
Support the people
and if you're local, use them.
Yes, please.
Anyways, when you step into Moscow Family Dentistry in Moscow, Idaho, you'll know you found the perfect place for your family's care. Their team loves helping kids grow into healthy adults. Dr. Ben Bowen, who's a Logos grad, by the way.
And a Greyfire student.
Yeah, knows
Right
that
now.
early experiences influence the value children place on their oral health as adults. One negative experience can affect a child's outlook on dentistry for the rest of their life. You can be sure your child will have a great experience at Moscow Family Dentistry.
He gives them laughing gas every time.
The services offered at Moscow Family Dentistry ensure that patients of all ages feel welcome. From the earliest checkups to orthodontic evaluations, Dr. Ben Bowen will listen to your concerns and guide you through every stage. Check them out, MoscowFamilyDentistry.com. You guys ready to do a drawing?
Oh, I am.
For club members only, though.
Oh.
This drawing is only for club members.
So if you're not a club member, you can't get.
You aren't in this.
What are we
you
giving
could,
away?
You could join now and be ready for the next time we do a drawing.
That's right.
What are we giving away?
How many drawings are we doing?
So we're doing 3 drawings.
We're going to give away 3 books.
We got what book should we give away first? Loser Think or Free to Believe?
Free to Believe.
Okay,
we're
gonna
do two of those.
So we'll do Free to Believe, Loser Think, Free to Believe.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, are we ready?
All right, here we go.
Oh, that's hilarious. That's hilarious.
Look at they can't even fit all our club members
I love
in there.
the look of this.
Wow, that's hilarious.
Who's number 1? So suspenseful. Aaron Mayfield. I'm writing that down.
Aaron, thank you for being a club member.
Aaron Mayfield. It's going again. It's going again.
Had to do the drum roll thing.
Oh, that's good.
This is Loser Think.
For Loser Thing, Scott Adams.
Yeah.
Going to
Corey Kidder.
Way to go, Corey.
Loser Think.
Thank you for being a club
Thank
member.
you,
Oh, it's doing it
Corey
again. It's doing it again.
Man,
It's on the move. It's on the
fast.
move.
It's so fast. I'm getting a little dizzy.
Yeah, no, for
Maybe I
real.
should stop looking.
For real.
All right,
Too many
ready to go?
names.
Here we goes.
Alex
Alex Edmonds. Another copy of Free to Believe.
Yeah.
Way to go.
All right, I'm ready for the next one. Go ahead,
That's
go.
it. That's 3. That's 3.
That's all we got.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3.
I just
We couldn't do
come on.
one more.
Can you just give away something?
I got so excited.
Can we give away Sadakoi?
Can we? Yeah. What can we give us?
Why don't you just
No, club members can get Satakoi download for free in the.
You know what? There's a lot of
In the
great
club portal.
things
Club Portal?
members
They can
Club
just
Portal.
download it
Yep.
for free.
Yep.
Any club member can
There
do
are
it.
master classes inside of our club portal
Like
for
what?
club members. So we have I'm thinking of Jason Elmore's master class on business.
Elite
and
execution?
Elite execution on selling. We have master classes from Kurt
McCurdy.
he's gonna get so mad at me.
Dr. McCurdy.
Dr. Kurt McCurdy on child rearing.
Keith McCurdy.
Yeah, it's definitely Keith.
Did I say what I say?
You said Kurt. Because it rhymes
Him
with
too.
McCurdy.
Him too. Kurt's is coming, but first is Keith.
Do we have Gary DeMar in there yet?
Gary DeMar, we have one session up from Gary. My goal is to get Gary up before the end of the month.
God and Government and
there's
Eschatology.
There's 2.
Yep.
God and Government, Eschatology. We
Yep.
also have a film in there. Baptism is not enough. I mean,
I'm doing a Proverbs Bible study.
Proverbs is
Which I had a owner from a business come and say, man, I want my whole company to be able to get access to Proverbs, Pastor Toby's Proverbs
It's
study
so
in our
good.
portal. Yeah, it's really
They are
good.
so good.
Now, on this new app that we have,
You can log into your club membership
but what about all the past shows?
and play. The past shows are so if at the very bottom of the app you'll see a past show.
shows.
Yeah.
Oh, look, 2019.
Yep.
2019. I'm clicking on.
And we're still putting in.
Whoa, there's like 8 6 or 8 shows in there.
Yeah, we're still putting in
So we're loading
the
in right now.
backlog.
We're loading them in.
So that's
So-
for nonprofits. Everybody's getting their old content or their historical content.
I just want to talk about the app for 2 seconds here.
Okay.
Part of the
1,
app.
2.
Okay, well, a little longer
Okay,
than
all
that.
right.
All right.
Sorry.
Give me a preacher's 2 seconds.
Okay.
So I'm going to be here for 5 minutes.
Go ahead.
So one of the things that's really
That's
nice
good.
about the app, we had so many people complaining when we first started the network that you couldn't organize the shows the way you would like.
Yep.
And everybody just kind of came in the feed and it made their feed messy. Well, now
Look at that.
you can
Look
get
at that,
the
beautiful.
app.
Look at that.
And it has every show broken up for their own channel. So you
Yep.
can find each show's shows
Yeah.
inside of the app. Very clean,
Yep.
very easy to use. It's great. It's wonderful. You're going
It's
to love
beautiful.
it.
We're going to make app
It's-
making great again.
It's making
The
cross-politic and fight left fees
beautiful
great
Alamo,
again.
the
Yeah.
beautiful cross-politic app.
And you can live stream, if you are a club member, you can live stream
Yep.
the sausage of the show being made.
Oh yeah, there are people watching us right now.
So right now-
and when we go off for a commercial break, they're still watching
They're
us.
still watching.
They're
Yep.
watching. You
Get
know,
to ask questions. We get to talk and
Yeah.
engage with them.
Yeah.
So the app is a great platform right now for the Fight Laugh Feast family.
yeah, man, David Bahnsen was great.
Yeah. And
I'm so thankful for him.
how much did we pay him to come back on for a
for
third
a
time?
third time.
I'm just trying to figure out.
I mean, yeah,
why?
What a blessing.
You know, one of the things towards the end of the segment, when he started talking about your question, Genesis and
Yep,
dominion and economics.
Man, I wanted to keep
and-
going.
Yeah, but because that's a really important topic. I mean, Christians are really ignorant when it comes to what the Bible has to say about economics.
I'm ignorant about it.
Yes.
And, I'm still learning about this.
Absolutely.
Well, there's a couple. I mean, there's some great books to be getting that all Christians need to read. We need to do like a high school economic curriculum class or something in our club portal.
Right.
Yeah.
We really should.
That's right.
But like Invisible Hand, which is Adams, Henry Hayek, Economics in One Lesson, which is really you go back
I think
and read
it's Hazlitt.
Hazlitt, sorry.
That too.
He really ripped off from Bastiat, who was an economist that Hazlitt based all this thing on.
Yeah.
And then there's Hayek. Yeah, you're right. Henry Hazlitt for Economics in One Lesson. But even before you get there, I think there's a whole there's a number of biblical principles that Christians just glance over and don't understand and see how it applies to economics.
We need a theological economics.
Exactly.
Gary
Before we
North-
start getting into this practical stuff, yeah.
Gary North has some great books on economics.
He has
a lot of them are
he has a
free.
new book called
Really?
Economics for Beginner or
Yep.
Beginning Economics.
Really?
Or something. I have that book. I haven't read it yet, but
Really?
GaryNorth.com. He has a bunch of free books
Right,
on there,
right.
and he has some great work done on economics. Actually, almost all of his books are looking at Leviticus economics from an economics level,
Yeah,
and
right.
working through it. So
But just really practically, I mean, I think what Bahnsen was saying at the end there is exactly right. If you do not begin with the idea that God created the world,
that's
Yeah.
right.
God created man,
Yeah.
we're made in his image. This means that we have the dignity of being made in his image, and also that we were made for a purpose.
Right.
And that purpose was to work and take dominion.
Yep.
And
be innovative
and that
creative.
means
Yep.
imitating God's creativity and productivity and
Right.
fruitfulness.
Yeah.
That's right.
And sin has interrupted that.
Yeah.
But if the gospel is the solution to our sin, if the
Amen.
cross takes the curse, then the implication of the whole gospel is so we can get back to work.
Amen.
We can get back to work, obeying God and learning to see how did he make this world to be fruitful.
Right.
He made it to be fruitful
Right.
if we'll only work.
Yeah.
And so what affects economics and all this is laziness, sin.
Yep.
You know, all those greed,
covetousness.
not
Sounds like God's law.
not obeying God's call in your life, or even understanding how God's called the government and the civil government and the family government, the church government to interact with one another.
Right.
That's all tangled up in how we see economics.
Well, that's just covenant theology.
Right.
I mean,
How so?
But because the covenant breaks down, any covenant breaks down to basically 5 different things. Oh boy, I hope I can remember all these.
Okay.
So you
Here we
got
go. Take notes.
transcendence, hierarchy,
Manufacturing.
sanctions, laws, sanctions, and then what happens.
Free healthcare.
Yeah, no. And then the last one is the future. What does it look like if these things are obeyed, and what is the future for these?
That was good. No,
Blessings.
you did that. You did that in spite of me and Toby.
Yeah. So, but so no matter how you look at this, who's in charge? And how they told you to run the world.
Well, and that's the thing is, I mean, fundamentally what covenant theology is it means that God is over you.
That's right.
Yeah.
And he made the world, he designed the world.
It's his.
And it's his. And either you're living your life seeking to conform yourself to the way he's made the world.
That's right.
Beginning with the gospel, dealing with your sin.
Yeah.
Or you're living your life in an animosity or with enmity with God and the way he made the world.
Right.
And one way tends towards God's blessing.
That's right.
And one way tends towards his cursing.
That's the sanctions.
And this is how we can connect economics to morality.
Absolutely.
Where, homosexuality is bad economics.
Absolutely.
Right? Marriage between man
It's
and
not
woman
fruitful.
is good economics.
Yeah.
Raising our kids to have discipline, to wake up early in the morning, a Proverbs child, that's good economics.
Right.
Yeah.
One of the things, I mean, he didn't mention this. I think we've maybe said this before on the show, but I think don't forget that because people are made in the image of God, that means that people are actually the most valuable resource in the universe.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, they can do great damage.
Yeah.
They can do great harm. The image of
Proves
God
your point, though.
means, but that's the point. Exactly. Because they're made in the image of God, because C.S. Lewis says in his message, The Weight of Glory, that we've never had dealings with a mere mortal. Everyone is an immortal.
Right.
Because everyone is in the process of becoming a creature that we might be tempted to worship.
Yeah.
Or a creature that we would be tempted to recoil in utter horror from. Everyone in the whole universe.
Yeah.
And so because of that, because we're immortals, we have immortal souls. We have souls that will never die. That will either live in eternity in glory or eternity in hell and torment. We are becoming those creatures now in what we do. But there's inherent glory and power in the creativity of man, in the ability to work, in the ability to invent and paint and compose and imitate the maker.
Right.
And you're either doing that for good and for glory, or you're doing that in a way that's destructive and divisive and corrupting.
Yeah. And it goes back. It's just two options here. It's honoring God and then loving your neighbor.
Right.
That's the two. So you got to have those two things in play. And one of the things that I've been thinking about with my family, and we've been really trying to grasp, and I think I've talked about this before, is how can the Shannon family love our neighbor in such a way to produce things that they say, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Can I have that?
Yeah.
How do I get that from you?
Right.
What do we have? Obviously, God, whatever we have at our fingertips, God has given us those things. And what are we just looking over and not thinking about that we need to repent of and say, okay, Lord, how do we take the things we have, however small they are, and start figuring out, getting our hands in there and say, what's cool about this that God has made?
Yeah.
And how do we love our neighbor with it?
But that means you got to stop grasping. You got to stop being greedy. You got to be humble.
You remember when we talked to Walter Williams in Philly?
Yes.
And we
Club members coming live.
That's coming.
It's coming.
Something else coming.
We were there for an hour and a half in his living room.
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
But he mentioned this. He said that free markets are fundamentally the way that people share their gifts.
Yeah.
They give gifts.
Yeah.
They serve other people.
Right.
That's right.
That's right.
And this, so God creates and he serves us by giving us a world that we get to enjoy. And then he makes us and says, here, use the gifts I've given you and turn a profit on those.
Right. Yeah.
Work the ground, make it fruitful.
Right.
Take a tree, cut it down, use the wood, build something.
Yeah.
So it's good when the government requires us to do that, right?
Absolutely not. Because the reason why it's not is because you've taken away the ability to give.
Right.
It's not a gift if someone puts a gun to your head and says, if you don't give it, I'll shoot you.
Right.
I'll put you in jail.
Well, you just made my job easy. Here you go.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, all right. It's yours, bro.
There's no, and then the person that receives the gift has no duty to be grateful.
Yeah.
He deserves it.
Yeah.
Because he didn't.
He deserves it because the government told this person to give it to me. It's mine now.
But it destroys gratitude.
Absolutely.
George Gilder also gets into this, and I can't remember which book it is, but there's Knowledge and Power, I think it is, at the beginning of the book, maybe, or maybe it's the very end.
Knowledge and Power.
He talks about the same idea, though, that it's that free market economy, the basics of it are basically that you have gifts from God that you want to share with other people. You see that other people need, and you want to meet those needs.
Right.
And those people so value what the Shannon family has created or given, and they say, wow, thank you.
Yeah.
Here's some money.
And they say, this is so helpful to me, and I want to bless you.
Right.
And I also want you to have a little extra so you have more
to make more of that.
So you can keep making more of these things.
A blessing transaction.
And so here, how much can I give you? What would bless you? And you say, well, I think this much. And you can have a negotiation of it, and you come to a deal, but that's a free exchange.
So this is why I think there's like a deep-seated resentment and bitterness in the Democratic Party, and you kind of see it percolating up. You know, Nancy Pelosi. I mean, that was resentful. I mean, that was
bitterness in their party and ignorance, and maybe for us.
Certainly.
And maybe some bitterness there
too. It's because the whole platform is bent on requiring people to give to others.
Well, and Bahnsen gets at this. It's also rooted in resentment of anyone that has something better or different than you. Which is fundamentally resentment of God.
That's right.
And this goes back to the beginning of economics, is that God is the creator.
God is
over you.
God is God.
Because, and if he is God, then he can give to Joe and Fred and Jimmy and Jane and all the other people.
And not give to you.
And whatever he wants to give them. He can give them abilities. He can give them a family that's different than yours, an experience that's different than yours. He can bless them however he wants. And we are to say, glory to God.
Amen.
And say amen to him, not resent it, not envy it.
Because and part of what happens in the envy is like, I want that. How do I get that? Right. But the thing what you need to realize is that you only get that from asking God. And if you need knowledge from God, you need to first fear God. You need to have a fear of God. Say, Lord,
you need to humble yourself before God.
That's exactly right.
And say, Lord, you've made me who you've made me to be.
Exactly.
Galatians says, let no man think of himself higher than he ought. But let him think of himself soberly, which doesn't mean you make lies up about yourself. I'm horrible. I have no gifts.
Think about yourself rightly.
You say, what has God given me, and what can I give?
And how can I serve?
We're going to end here, but this is what bothered me about the prayer breakfast. I didn't watch the whole thing. I only watched part of it and kind of skipped through because I couldn't stomach it. Honestly,
what part?
The beginning. Trump walks into the prayer breakfast and he brings in his acquitted piece. He brings it up and he just kind of put on the same show that he did at State of the Union, right? But
it's a prayer breakfast.
It's a prayer breakfast, and I would think after everything you just got done going through, you should walk in there and with a Bible and say. And
let's
read
pray.
a Bible verse and get on your knees. Say, God has been kind to us.
Thank God for all his blessings.
And ask for the men and women in that room, the Christians in that room, to pray for you and say, listen, ask God to give me wisdom to lead.
Right.
You know, I'm humbled at this point because I'm surprised I even made this. Nobody else has made it through this. God has allowed me to make it through this.
When we were playing the State of the Union address, I was playing it in the living room, and my wife was across the room from us, and she just poked her head up in the middle of it and said, "Is that Nebuchadnezzar?" At the beginning of the speech, when he's just sort of rattling off all the accomplishments, everything that they've done, everything they've done, my administration, and it's like I get, like, she had a point,
right.
I mean, and there's somewhat of a fine line. There's a gradation there of just doing your victory thing, and announcing your accomplishments in that sense.
Paul did. He announced his accomplishments, right?
But there's also this, and then when you see it spill into the prayer breakfast, you're like, okay.
There's something else going on here.
Is that hubris?
Yeah, that's right.
And there's, we just watched the Iowa debacle.
Yeah.
And, they were like, talk about pride and arrogance. And then God says, watch this.
Yeah.
And, you have a
so good.
An app called Shadow.
Yeah. And the company was called Shadow.
It's a setup. And God is, totally messed with them. But God can do the same thing to us. God can do the same thing to Trump. He can do the same thing to the Republican Party.
Hey, humble yourself and he will lift you up.
Pride goes before the fall.
When we talked to Nate Wilson, he's like, God's going to humble him.
Yeah.
Right? And he's right. I mean, this is crazy on both sides. Everything's just going nuts. You better believe if you see God, and Doug Wilson wrote about this in one of his.
It was a really good post.
In his post, I can't remember which one it was, but you just go read all of them, okay? They're all good. Where it's like when you see your bigger brother over there getting disciplined, you don't sit up and say, there you go, you're getting it. You say, whoa.
Well,
I might be next.
Well, this is exactly what happened with Israel and Judah, and God said this specifically about them. Like, Judah didn't learn the lesson. Israel was taken off into exile 100 years before for their sins, for their idolatry, and God's like, did you learn the lesson? And some of them kind of sort of did, but mostly didn't. And so, 100 years later, they're being taken off into exile because they followed in the same sins of their older sister, Israel.
That's right.
The other thing about this is just, I was thinking about the comment he made at his victory lap speech, the thing he did where he said, he was talking about the phone call. He's, that people were listening on the line and they said it was perfect. And he says, now I've made mistakes.
Right.
I I didn't mean to, not intentionally, not knowing.
Yeah,
but I made some mistakes. And I kind of think in some ways we have to recognize, I think there's a lot about what Trump has done that's good. That's basically the same thing. I've done some good things. I didn't know that I was doing good things, but I did some good things.
That's right. That's good.
And I think that's kind of how God is blessing us through him, which is it's not Trump.
No.
Yeah.
I don't think it's
Trump. No.
It's God who's having mercy on us. Which means that Trump needs to humble himself.
And so do we.
And we need to humble ourselves.
We need to see that right now and know that it's not Trump. It's God who's being kind to us through him, and we need to get on our own knees and say, God, forgive us.
Man. Amen.
And how do we now start engaging properly and repent, you know?
Yeah, and a lot of us, I mean, we could rattle off all the ways that God's blessed us and be grateful and do that, but give the glory to God. Because you know what happened to Nebuchadnezzar.
It wasn't good. It didn't end well.
It didn't end well.
If you're single, get married. If you're married, have kids. And if you have kids, go baptize them. Until next week, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Go fight, laugh, and feast. This is Cross Politics.